The Crossbow. One of the stranger weapons in the Call of Duty series. It predates every single firearm in the franchise, and has appeared in multiple installments, but is often overshadowed by its traditional firearm counterparts. Here's the history and evolution of the crossbow in Call of Duty. Also, I'm only going to be covering the mainline entries, so no spin-off games like COD Mobile, COD Online, Black Ops Declassified, or the DS games. Yes, technically the crossbow's first appearance was in Modern Warfare Mobilized on the DS, but I'm going to start with Black Ops 1. Making its debut in Black Ops 1, the crossbow has two different variations in the game. The far more iconic variant is the one featured in the game's multiplayer and zombies mode. Unlocked at level 33, the crossbow appears as one of the game's two special weapons. The crossbow deals 50 damage to players, unless you get a headshot, in which case it's an instant kill. And with its extremely slow reload time, fire speed, low ammo, and low mobility, the crossbow may seem like a useless secondary. And it would be, if not for its explosive ability. If you shoot an enemy in the body, leg, or arm, the bolt won't kill them, but the explosives attached to the tip of the bolt will, after a few seconds. Even if a player has flak jacket on, they're not safe from this explosion if stuck. Because of its explosive ability, you don't actually have to hit your target to do damage. As for its appearance in zombies, the weapon is nearly useless unpack-a-punched. However, once you pack-a-punch it to the awful Laden, it becomes one of the best tools in the game. Notice how I said tools, not weapons. Because of its low ammo and lack of PhD flopper on many of the Black Ops 1 zombie maps, it's not recommended to use this thing as your standard weapon. Instead, use the awful Laden as a secondary weapon to save yourself from being cornered. This is because the awful Laden fires bolts that act similar to a monkey bomb, attracting the zombies towards it before exploding and killing them. As for the weapon's design, the crossbow is actually designed not after a real-life crossbow, but instead the rifle, the MWIII AR-18, with the weapon's stock and pistol grip being from said rifle. It seems that this crossbow is a custom-built weapon instead of something that you could buy at a store. The second variation of the crossbow is also just referred to as the crossbow. Featured exclusively in the campaign level WMD, this version of the crossbow functions the exact same as its multiplayer and zombies counterpart, except for three things. The first is that the weapon features a camo, something that no secondary was able to have until Black Ops 2. The camo on the weapon is the Siberian camouflage. The second is that it features a variable zoom scope, and the third and most important difference is that it has the ability to fire non-explosive bolts. Because of this, the direct impact damage is boosted, so that chest shots with non-explosive bolts will be instant kills. The crossbow returned in Black Ops 2 with two different variations. The far more iconic version of the crossbow is once again just referred to as the crossbow. Unlocked at level 25, this version of the crossbow is very different from its Black Ops 1 counterpart, as now the crossbow is able to fire 3 bolts before needing to reload. Although the weapon still doesn't have a lot of ammo, once again being one of the game's two special secondary weapons, the crossbow in the game has a significantly nerfed explosive radius compared to its Black Ops 1 counterpart, so you really need to stick an enemy with a bolt in order to get a kill. To make up for the nerf, the crossbow now has the ability to have attachments placed on it. These include 4 different scopes like the ACOG scope, dual band scope, reflex sight, and variable zoom, and one unique attachment called the Tri-Bolt. This allows you to fire all 3 bolts at the exact same time, which will kill enemies before the explosive tip even goes off. Sadly, this crossbow wasn't in the game's Zombies mode. As for the weapon's design, it's no longer a manual loaded crossbow, instead being a reverse draw crossbow that is somehow able to fire bolts from a magazine. Unlike the previous game's crossbow, it seems that this bow is based on a real-life crossbow, the Barnett BC Raptor. Although, weirdly enough, it has the mag release of the ACR from Modern Warfare 3. As for the game's second crossbow variant, we have the manual crossbow, and it's basically just the crossbow from Black Ops 1. But contrary to popular belief, it's not a direct port to the Black Ops 1 crossbow, although it does use a modified version of the Black Ops 1 crossbow's model, just with much brighter reds. Because of this, it features no crawling animation. Unlocked in the campaign's Create a class by completing 5 challenges in the level Karma, the manual crossbow acts exactly the same as its Black Ops 1 counterpart. Though, as I just mentioned, there are some cosmetic differences, such as the colors being different, and the model also has some writing on it. The phrase, "You had me at crossbow," is written on the bolt, and "Vengeance, Black Ops 2," is written on its side. The crossbow made its return in Advanced Warfare in the game's multiplayer and exo-zombies modes. This version of the crossbow is once again a manual loaded crossbow, and fires 1 bolt at a time. Unlocked at level 48, this crossbow has the most amount of ammo of any crossbow so far, with the ability to fire 7 bolts before running out of ammo. Once again, being one of the 2 secondary special weapons, the crossbow acts very much like its Black Ops 1 counterpart, although the reloading is much faster. Unlike the Black Ops 1 crossbow, this crossbow can actually have attachments. However, they're only scopes. The red dot sight, hybrid sight, autofocus sight, target enhancer, thermal scope, ACOG scope, and the exclusive crossbow scope, with a very cool shark design at the end of the scope. The weapon also has a fairly small blast radius, so you really need to stick enemies with the bolts in order to get kills. As for its appearance in zombies, it appears in 4 of the 5 exo-zombies maps. Yes, I'm that annoying guy who considers Riot to be an exo-zombies map. Unfortunately, because exo-zombies has no PhD flopper equivalent, you can down yourself with a crossbow if you're careless. Although, since you're constantly moving in exo-zombies, I don't think this is going to happen to you. Because explosive weapons are extremely useful in the mode, the crossbow is actually a fairly good secondary weapon. Although, because contact grenades are available off the wall in nearly every single exo-zombies map, you're better off just using them as your explosive weapon. Unfortunately, the awful Laden doesn't return, and instead, the crossbow simply gains more damage, camos, and attachments as you upgrade it. It has no unique abilities like the awful Laden. As for this crossbow's design, it's designed to be a semi-futuristic crossbow. As far as I'm able to tell, it's not based on a real-life crossbow model, but I easily could be wrong about that. Black Ops 3 begins the trend of not having the crossbow at the launch of the game, only to add it in later via an update. This game's crossbow is known as the NX ShadowClaw, and is by far the most unique variant of the weapon. Added to the game on February 8, 2016, and unlocked via supply drops, the NX ShadowClaw is a tiny semi-automatic crossbow that can fire 6 bolts before needing to reload. Unlike the crossbows of previous games, this crossbow doesn't fire explosive bolts, nor does it even have explosive bolts as an attachment. Because of this, the bolts it fires are always an instant kill. Also, the weapon is always silent, meaning that you won't appear on enemies' minimaps when firing the weapon. It's arguably one of the best secondary weapons in the game, and has several attachments unique to this version of the crossbow. While it features your standard variety of optics, the tri-bolt returns as an option, and it turns the weapon into a shotgun of sorts. The weapon also has a bayonet attachment, allowing players to one-hit melee enemies with it. But easily the best attachment is the dual-wield attachment, which, as the name suggests, allows players to hold 2 of them at once. The best part about this weapon is that you can actually collect bolts from dead enemies, meaning that you basically have unlimited ammo. The NX ShadowClaw appears in zombies, but unlike many other weapons, you can't customize its attachments or camos. Exclusively appearing on the map Gorod Krobi, the NX ShadowClaw is only available as a dual-wielded weapon, and unlike in multiplayer, you can't pick back up your bolts. Pack-a-punching it turns it into the Apollo's Fervor. The weapon gains the ability to revive players if you shoot it down to teammates with the weapon. It also gains a small explosion effect upon impacting zombies, although, unlike previous crossbows, if the player is too close to the bolts, they won't explode. As for the weapon's design, it's a completely fictional weapon that doesn't seem to have any real-life counterpart. Appearing exclusively in the Zombies map, Rave in the Redwoods, the Vlad is a crossbow that you can only obtain by doing an Easter egg. Upon reaching Turtle Island, the Pack-a-Punch Island, if you grab some hot dogs inside of a bucket, and then go around the map in Rave mode, feeding mounted deer heads, the deer heads will then begin floating, which will require players to destroy them. Upon destroying them, they'll drop a symbol. Do this to all of the deer heads, and you'll be able to bring the symbols back to the Vlad cabinet at spawn, and you'll now be able to pick up the weapon. The Vlad, which gets its name from Vlad the Impaler, is a rather old-school looking crossbow that's referred to as a harpoon gun in the game's files. You can't pack-a-punch it, and it only fires 21 explosive bolts before needing more ammo. It's not a weapon that many people main, but most players will use it temporarily to gain access to the map's wonder weapons.
No matter. You've been horrible and both thus far. Oh, but don't. You just might have another shot at a decent performance yet.
While you can't pack-a-punch the Vlad, by doing Easter eggs around the map, you can upgrade one of the 4 Vlads in the cabinet into a wonder weapon crossbow. The first is the Acid Rain, which produces an explosion when fired, and shortly after this explosion, a rain cloud will appear, and Acid Rain will begin to rain down on the zombies, giving player headshot kills. The second is the Whirlwind EF5, which is probably the simplest one of the 4, as it's pretty much just a crossbow reskin of the Thunder Gun from Black Ops 1, 3, and 4. The third is the Ben Franklin. This crossbow fires electric bolts that summon lightning to zombies near where the player fires. The fourth and final one is by far the most unique, the Trap-O-Matic. It's a dual-wielded crossbow that fires explosive bolts. But if you fire 2 bolts onto the ground near each other, you'll create a tripwire trap that'll create an explosion if a zombie passes through it. Personally, my favorite is the Acid Rain. Now it's time for my second favorite incarnation of the crossbow. Added to Call of Duty World War II on October 2nd, 2018, and being available by either supply drops or a daily contract, this version of the crossbow was available in both the game's multiplayer and zombies modes. In multiplayer, the game breaks the tradition of the crossbow being labeled a special weapon, and is instead in the launchers class of weapons. Returning to the classic manual-fed crossbow, like in Black Ops 1 in Advanced Warfare, this crossbow acts very similar to those incarnations, except for the fact that you can change what it fires. By default, the weapon doesn't actually shoot explosive bolts, instead just being standard bolts that deal 70 damage to players. So unless it's a headshot or they're already damaged, you're not going to be getting too many one-shot kills with it. You can unlock explosive bolts, though, as an attachment, alongside the tri-bolt attachment. There's also the fast reload attachment, and the fast bolt attachment, which do exactly what they sound like. You reload faster, and your bolt fires faster. And of course, you got some sight options, like the reflex sight and the 4x optic. As for its appearance in zombies, it appears on all 8 maps in the mystery box, and unlike previous crossbows, you can actually add attachments to it. This is arguably the most powerful non-wonder weapon version of the crossbow in zombies, as by default, its bolts will go through multiple zombies at once. And upon pack-a-punching it to the noisy solder rail, the bolts will become explosive regardless if you have the explosive bolt attachment equipped. It also does incredible damage, and if fired at a whistling enemy, they'll stumble and fall over, making it one of the best secondary weapons in the game. As for its design, it's an extremely old-looking crossbow, being designed after 19th to early 20th century Swiss-style crossbows. Black Ops 4 features 2 different versions of the crossbow, and both of them are rather unique. The more well-known of the two is the Reaver C86. Appearing in multiplayer, zombies, and Blackout, returning to the special class, this crossbow was added to the game on July 9th, 2019. Obtained by either supply drops or a black market special deal, the Reaver C86 is a 2-burst fire reverse draw crossbow, and much like its World War II incarnation, doesn't come with explosive bolts by default. In fact, it doesn't have explosive bolts at all. Its attachments include only a single scope, the compact scope, extended mags, a stock, and the titanium bolt attachment, which makes the bolts fire faster. But you do have the ability to pick back up your fired bolts, so you basically have unlimited ammo. As for its appearance in zombies, it appears in every single map in the game via the mystery box, and can have its attachments modified. Upon pack-a-punching it into the Minos Zeal, the weapon gets more ammo and an insane damage buff, but no explosive touch whatsoever. But the weapon does keep its ability to let you pick up bolts that you've fired, so again, you basically have unlimited ammo. As for the weapon's design, it seems to be a heavily modified version of the crossbow from Black Ops 2, just with 4 limbs instead of 2. It's also got the word Chimera on it, which seems to imply it's a custom weapon created from various parts. As for the game's more obscure crossbow, the Savage Impaler is a wonder weapon crossbow featured in the Zombies map Dead of the Night. It was also added to Blackout in an update, but it's only available in the mystery box, and is extremely rare. The Savage Impaler is only available to use upon doing an Easter egg in Dead of the Night. It's hidden away in a crypt that requires you to blow out some candles and kill some zombies and vampires. Like the Slicklifier in Die Rise, once obtaining the Savage Impaler, it becomes available in the mystery box. But only for that game. The Savage Impaler is basically a steampunkish NX ShadowClaw in its appearance, and does extremely high headshot damage to zombies, and almost always insta-kills vampires. Sadly, this weapon cannot be pack-a-punched. As for its appearance in Blackout, it's mostly the same, except for the fact that it fires much slower. Added into Modern Warfare 2019 on December 3rd, 2019, the crossbow returns and is once again just referred to as the crossbow. Unlocked via completing a challenge, the weapon appears in the game's multiplayer mode and Warzone mode. Strangely, the weapon is classified as a marksman rifle, despite it not being a rifle, or a gun at all. Because Modern Warfare 2019 uses the gunsmith form of weapon attachments, a ton of attachments can be added to the crossbow. 3 different stocks, 3 different grips, 17 different optics, 10 different weapon perks, a single laser attachment, 2 cables, and 3 arm attachments. But the most interesting of these attachments are the bolts. There's 4 different kinds of bolts that you can fire. By default, you fire normal bolts, but you can also make the crossbow fire explosive bolts, along with thermite bolts that deal fire damage, and tear gas bolts that will explode in a cloud of tear gas. The normal bolts you fire by default also deal 100 damage, meaning that it's always an instant kill. Normal bolts are undetectable by trophy systems, and can be picked back up after firing. But if you use any of the special type of bolts, trophy systems will destroy them. As for its design, the weapon is designed to be a hybrid between 2 different real-life crossbows. The Barnet Headhunter crossbow, and the Scorpid Aculeus crossbow.
No ammo!
Two different variations of the crossbow appear in Black Ops Cold War, one of which is new, while the other one is a strange reappearance. The more well-known crossbow, and my personal favorite version of the weapon, is the R1 Shadowhunter. Added into the game on March 24th, 2021, this crossbow is unlocked by doing a challenge, in either multiplayer or zombies. The weapon is classified as a special weapon in multiplayer and zombies, but in Warzone, it's actually classified as a marksman rifle. Similar to the World War II crossbow, the Shadowhunter by default fires normal bolts, but unlike that incarnation of the weapon, even just normal bolts are enough for an instant kill. It's also, once again, a silent weapon, meaning that you won't appear on the minimap if you shoot the weapon. Trophy systems are this thing's arch nemesis, as they'll destroy bolts fired in their area. Sadly, the weapon doesn't have any explosive bolt attachment. Appearing in zombies, the R1 Shadowhunter is available on all 5 maps in the game, and upon pack-a-punching it into the Lancelot, it receives a damage buff, more ammo, and like the World War II crossbow, it can penetrate a ton of zombies. But unlike the World War II crossbow, it doesn't have any explosive ability. As for its design, it seems that the weapon is designed to be a hybrid between crossbows designed by Velocity Archery and Wizard Archery, which is strange because both of these designs weren't around in the 1980s, when the game takes place. The second crossbow in the game is the Reaver C86, returning from Black Ops 4. Only appearing as a power-up in the Zombies map Dead Ops Arcade 3, this Reaver C86 is very different from its Black Ops 4 counterpart. For starters, instead of being a burst fire weapon, it now fires fully automatic, and instead of firing bolts, it fires saw blades. But the strangest thing about this weapon is that it has a brand new design. This is only weird because Dead Ops Arcade 3 reuses a lot of enemies and environments from previous Black Ops games, and pretty much all of them are simply just ported into the game, meaning they look identical to the previous appearance. Why the Reaver C86 got a redesign is a mystery. The crossbow returns in Modern Warfare 2, but it's a bit weird. While it was added into the game's multiplayer, Warzone, and DMZ modes on February 15th, 2023, it was actually available to use in the game's campaign, exclusively in the levels El Sin Nombre and Alone, only being available by opening secret safes found in the levels. So, technically the weapon was in the game at launch, but it wasn't available in multiplayer for a few months. Anyways, the crossbow returns to being a marksman rifle, and was originally unlocked by completing all of the Path of the Rodin challenges. However, since that event ended, you can just unlock the weapon by either completing a challenge in multiplayer, or extracting the weapon in DMZ. The Modern Warfare 2 crossbow acts extremely similar to its Modern Warfare 2019 counterpart. In fact, it's pretty much the same as its counterpart, just with a slightly modified design. The only real difference between the two versions of the weapon are the fact that in Modern Warfare 2, the crossbow has even more optic and grip attachments. The weapon returned in Modern Warfare 3 as part of that game's Modern Warfare 2 carryover system. It was unlocked by either completing a challenge or extracting it from the game's Zombies mode, but if you had it unlocked in Modern Warfare 2, you already had it unlocked by default. Upon pack-a-punching the crossbow in Modern Warfare 3's Zombies mode, it turns into the Insane Bolt. However, it's a very standard pack-a-punch, as it only receives an ammo increase and damage buff. Though the crossbow is pretty good at MWII. Ending off the video, we have one of the strangest crossbows yet. In Black Ops 6, instead of the crossbow returning as a secondary weapon or a primary weapon, it returned as an attachment. Introduced into the game on January 28, 2025, the crossbow attachment is exactly what it sounds like. It's a tiny underbarrel crossbow available to use with the game's assault rifles and marksman rifles. Not only is it a tiny crossbow, but it's also a tiny explosive tipped crossbow, which means that you're guaranteed a kill if you stick an enemy with it. The crossbow's explosive tip also has a fairly large splash damage radius, so unlike previous incarnations, you don't always need to hit the target directly in order to get a kill. But that's only in multiplayer. In zombies, it's a different story. It deals a lot less damage in zombies, and becomes really bad in high rounds. And on maps with the shock mimic enemy, it's even harder to get kills, as the mimics will disable the bolt if you fire it near them. As for its design, it's a tiny crossbow that might be partially based on the AR-6 Stinger II compact crossbow, or the Little Joe crossbow. The only example of a real-life underbarrel crossbow that I was able to find is from a YouTuber, Greek Gadget Guru, who put a tiny crossbow on an AK rifle. Perhaps Treyarch was inspired by this very video. So what do you guys think about the crossbow? You like it? You don't like it? Do you miss the explosive edge the weapon had by default? Or are you a fan of how it's been handled in recent games? Do you want to see more of these videos? If so, which weapons would you like to see? I personally am thinking about doing one for the Death Machine, War Machine, and one for all of the revolvers in the franchise. I don't know, maybe this will be the only weapon history video I make, if, people don't like it. Regardless, have a great day, and let me know your favorite and least favorite crossbows in the comments below. But before I sign off, I need to give a huge shout out to my channel members, Maurice Deceased, Adam Depp, Digital Medic, Lone Thunder, Jordan Tubby, TJ's Hole, The Mr. Train Track, Cowboy Tuba, Solid Fricky, Steven, Killam, Janet, King Fenrir 1987, Wojtek Wojtkiewicz, Infinity Mark, Derry, Papega, Domeshot 529, Sailor Stell, Mano, JMax Air, Fabio Borges Jacob, Guardian of Brooklyn, Notorious J, Paco, That's J, Cody Lester, Milo the Mighty, V for Voltex, Nora, Goat449, Hunter Gentle, Metaphysical Loaf of Bread, The Lazy Ngibot, Moxie, Games with Toasty, Jesse Aguilar, The Epic Rager, Nathan Trench, Big Falco 32, and Velv. I say it all the time, but I genuinely just am blown away by your guys' support. Thank you so much. You'll never understand how much it means to me. Now, with all that being said, have a good one.